Many forecasts call for rates for inflation to remain low, but we just don't know that until we see the data. So we'll be focusing on that.
Gina.
Thank you. Thanks for taking our questions, Chair Powell. Obviously, you upgraded the language around growth in the statement today. You know, we've seen the Barbie movie numbers. We've seen everyone going to Taylor Swift concerts this summer. It seems like the American consumer is in pretty good shape. And it does seem like growth is sort of picking back up a little bit, or at least doing well. And I wonder from your perspective, if that continues, if we see growth not just stabilizing, but doing, you know, performing well this summer, is that a problem because it's inflationary, or is it good news because it suggests that a soft landing is more likely? Just how are you thinking about that sort of trajectory?
Is the Fed a Barbie girl in a Barbie world? Is inflation plastic? Is it fantastic? Man, we've got the Barbie indicator with data oscillation. The charts are its creation. Come on, Barbie, let's go party. The markets have been up all of 2023, and now we have the Barbie indicator telling us everything is okay, but is it? All right, we're going to find out what the Fed said, because I think there was 3 significant takeaways from his response and from this FOMC meeting that all of you guys need to be aware about, because it does point us to the future in our portfolios. No, he did not directly include the word Barbie or Taylor Swift in his response, but he did say that if this economy, based on Barbie and Taylor Swift's phenomenal success, continued to get overstimulated, that he was going to have to come back and raise the rates some more. He was sticking to his guns on bringing inflation down. But there was 3 things that I thought were extremely important that were different than what he said in the past. One, he just reminded us that we are going to have a softening labor market, which simply means people will get laid off, and he was very clear about saying that even if they didn't raise rates anymore, that there was going to be a response to this increase in rates higher than it's been for 22 years, and the response of the market was going to be seeing layoffs. He sees that coming, and he was warning the economy about it. Number 2, he changed his rhetoric. This guy has been saying consistently, as well as the other Feds, that we'd get a couple more rate hikes, but this particular time, he said, well, I can't give you any forward guidance. That's a change in my eyes. And then number 3, he introduced a term that he hadn't really focused on in the past. I'm going to call it the fruit of the Fed. He said it needs to be patience. He said at this point, we've done a lot of successful work. We're bringing inflation down. The rates are up. Now we have to have patience. And so that was probably one of his most dovish remarks that we've heard him say over the last year and a half, that he's going to be looking and using patience to see what comes next and watching the data. That's what's happening with the US economy, but today I'm going to be diving into what's going on with the Chinese economy, because I see some opportunity there. I'm going to be covering some big plays like Alibaba and NIO. I know that there's of interest. I've got a bunch of other plays I'd love to talk about. We're seeing some interesting things happening in the chart today with Microsoft, Tesla, Amazon, Google, Sound. All of them would be worth covering. I might do a lightning round video tomorrow to give you guys my perspective on what I see there, because there's some clear signals the charts are giving us in all of those plays. All right, before I get into the technicals on those plays, let me do a quick station break for the moomoo investment app. If you guys need better trade tools, moomoo is a great app. I use it every single day. I specifically love their earnings calendar. It's the #1 way that I keep my eye on the next play that's ahead of us. They're giving away free stock up to 16 shares, as well as a cash bonus. You can click on the link to get all the details. They're available in the US and Australia, but the offer is different for both places. And one of the best things about moomoo is I host a chat group on the app called Stock Josh Fam. After I post this video today, I'm going to go over and I'm going to be on the chat group for about an hour. Hope to see you guys there today. All right, let's just get into some news that came out of China that's directly impacted these particular plays. The Alibaba, the Xpeng, NIO, all of them are going to be affected by this news. Let me share this with you. The news release came out of Reuters on July 24th. China to step up policy adjustments amid tortuous recovery. So basically, we've known for quite a while that the Chinese economy really suffered a ton of damage when they had things locked down for as long as they did. We've been waiting for the leadership to respond. President Xi has come out and he has basically said they're going to respond forcefully. They're going to do what it takes to affect the financial macro environment so that these companies can be stimulated and so that the economy can be stimulated. So this was very bullish news for our favorite Chinese plays. It's given a bump to all of them, but specifically I want to look at BABA and NIO. I think the charts are speaking very clearly to us about what to expect with those two plays. I think you guys are going to find it interesting and in some cases different than you might be expecting. All right, let's start off by focusing on NIO. Guys, when this was down in the gutter at $8 and it began to move sideways, I came out and did a video well over a month ago and said, hey, guys, this thing is looking bullish. I actually think it's going to get to $9 and $9.50 somewhere in the next 10 days. And lo and behold, we had a nice pop up. It seemed to be resurrecting from its lows. And then when it got up there, a lot of people were thinking, well, we're just going to slip down even further because we've been playing that game with NIO all year long. But I came out and I said again, no, it's actually not going to slip down. Our next target is quite clear at $11.50. We saw it come right up to $11.30. So at that moment, it was a little bit of a wonder, did I get my technicals wrong? And I came out and I said, no, it's still going to hit that $11.50. And sure enough, shortly after that, we shot up right through it. Now, over in the moomoo chat, people have been asking me, Josh, what's going on with NIO? Where's it going to go? And I've been telling them very consistently, it's going to shoot up to $14. This is on the move. But I'm going to give you guys the most important technical right now on NIO so that you can get a perspective of where it could go next and what might happen in the coming days. Because the NIO stock has come back alive. Now, it could be moving late. Sometimes when you see the movement of Tesla, I've noticed that NIO will follow, but it'll follow some weeks later. Does it mean that it's going to just have a momentary pop-up and go back to a slow death? Or is this a turnaround moment? Is the lowest lows on NIO behind us? Well, I think that we're going to find that out very, very soon. Let's take a look at what the charts are telling us. So here's what I've identified, and I feel pretty confident that we're likely to test this theory of mine. I see that we have a descending line of resistance that has pushed NIO down when it's come up against this line in the past. I believe that we will come up and touch that line, and I see that line being touched somewhere between the $14 mark and the $15 range. Now, as high as I think it could currently go at this moment would be $15.84. And I'm sure to some of you guys that's a little bit of a surprise to hear that I think it could go all the way up to 16. Now, I don't know whether this will cool off and move sideways before possibly moving up. And if it did cool off and move sideways, it would lower that particular price point, but we would still be in the high $14 range to potentially the low $15 range. Then we're going to touch that descending line. So until it touches that line, I don't think this move is over. But when it touches that line, then we have to look at something that's become very interesting. If we don't get a really strong rejection at that line and we begin to hover around that line, that could absolutely signal that we're going to go higher. Right? That's going to be sort of the deciding line. That's going to be the critical moment of how NIO interacts with what I'm going to call historic support or historic rejection in this particular case. Whether we're going to flip above it and it's going to open up into a new price category. The bottom line is that if we did go above it, kind of move sideways and through it and move up, NIO could actually be on a current move all the way up to $20. Now, I am not predicting that. What I am predicting is that we're going to touch that line between $14 and $15.84. That is my prediction. So in that range, we're going to touch that line, and then how we react when we touch it is going to tell us whether we're going to go back and find support again or whether we're going to go up into the $20 range. If you've been holding it for a long time, don't sell it too early. You might consider holding just a little bit longer until we see how this plays out. That's a very typical scenario with stocks is people hold them during the entire beatdown phase. They're afraid to let them go, and then when they finally begin to move, they panic and sell them, and then they go on to a higher move. So be careful with your NIO trade. Be patient with it. That's the key word, patience. Remember, the Fed is giving us guidance. He's saying we got to be patient. We got to see what the data says. I'm going to tell you guys the same thing with NEO. Be patient with it. So we're going to be looking at how it interacts with that line, what kind of candle it gives us, and then we're going to be watching the earnings. It's the earnings which are going to determine how it can perform moving forward, but the lowest low could be behind us. All right, let's get into Alibaba. Guys, Alibaba is such an interesting stock for me. I have made good money trading it in the past. We've gotten into a little bit more of a difficult zone to foresee because largely we've been moving sideways. Ever since March of 2022, this really has been moving sideways and the trend is down, and so we can't ignore that. We only have a series of lower highs and lower lows, and so we have no clue right now whether or not the bottom is behind us and whether we're beginning to move from that scenario to shift and begin to go on a longer trend up. But I've shared some things with you guys in the past, and I like to make the charts simple, so we're going to make it simple today. I just want to point out that if you take a step back and you look at the overall movement of Alibaba, if you look at the chart over the last couple years, you see what I'm calling a smiling chart. The bottom line is we're having a big bowl shape return. We've come down and we draw a line right through the average. It really looks like a big smiley face, a big bottom of a bowl. It could be forming into a cup and handle. I've also in previous videos made predictions about Alibaba that we have a clearly defined inverse head and shoulders. After a decline after an entire year is typically a very bullish signal, but we have to see it play out. Ultimately, this thing has to get to $104 here soon, and then after that, it's got to come up to the neckline around $120. That's the neckline. It's got to then break through to prove to us they could go up to 160 and up to 200. I kind of like Alibaba, and I've given you guys the reasons why, because a lot of other big tech here in the US has already up at its highs, where Alibaba has yet to have that turnaround story. And so just like we saw with Tesla and Microsoft and Meta, all of these great companies were down at the $100 range, down on their lows. They all had this massive turnaround and went up 100, 150, or 200%. I think that Baba can have that day, but the charts have not given us a buy signal yet. I will classify this as an investment grade stock, even though it's a little bit more risky than a lot of the other companies that I would call investment grade stocks. And if I were to give it a rating, I would actually give it a C+. That's the rating I would give it, and there's a potential that very soon, based on some good data, based on some other things I've talked about in other videos, the business components being broken apart, giving us more clarity of the data we get out of this company, it could go from a C+ to a B or a B+, and maybe even an A down the road. So I'm going to give you guys this thought though. Don't FOMO into Alibaba, because Alibaba is absolutely, first of all, the trend is sideways, and it keeps giving us these drops down 5%, 10% drops, which are pretty big. So you've had numerous opportunities to buy on the dip. But of course, it's always scary to buy in the dips, and that's what a lot of people don't like to do. But don't buy it when it's running up. Buy it on one of these bad red days where it looks like it's falling apart, because we are making locally in the recent time frame. So after we got past a big drop, we are making a series of higher lows. We have to see if that maintains. Try to buy it on one of those dips. I'm going to give you guys local support and local resistance right now so you can get a picture of what we're up against and where we might find support. So today the volume was up on Alibaba, but the money flow was bearish. Why was the money flow bearish? Because we're pushing up against resistance, and nobody knows right now whether we're going to break through it and go to the next area of resistance. And so people are logically taking profit, which means we could have another flash down, which could be another buying opportunity. So we are currently sitting right above resistance at $95.80, and local support is $92 and then $88. Those would be the places to consider buying on a pullback. Now, if we stay above the level that we're at right now, if we stay above 95.80, then we could push all the way up to the next resistance, which would be $104, and that would be a big D-Day for Alibaba, because that's kind of, if you look at the overall trend, that's where I would predict we most likely would hit and potentially most likely get rejected if the trend was going to remain bearish for a time being. So I kind of like Alibaba as an accumulation play, as a long-term play, but it's got higher risk than the other big tech American companies that I talked to you guys about. But if you want to play something that is more stable than a penny stock, but less stable than an American big tech company. Alibaba would be your winner. Something that's not up at its highs, actually it's down on its lows and could potentially have that big move up. Then for me, that's Alibaba, and that's how I'm playing it. Hope you enjoyed this show. Thank you so much for all the likes that I always get on my videos. Thank you guys for the highs. Thank you guys for the hearts in the comments section. Hit the subscribe if you want to make sure that you get my next prediction. This weekend, I've got some important videos planned. I'm going to be talking to you about what I see happening right now in the Bitcoin chart, and I want to remind you, and in crypto, and with the alts. I got a great question about the altcoins. Somebody said, Josh, is it just Bitcoin and Ethereum that's going to thrive in the new government-regulated crypto environment in the days ahead? How are the alts? Are they going to die off? I'm going to talk to you guys about that because I have strong opinions about it. I think I know what's happening right now in crypto, and I'm looking forward to doing and giving you guys that video. Plus, I want to do a fresh up and update on all of the big plays that we've been talking about on this channel, and I owe you guys an Amazon video. Amazon, Google, both doing very well. Both playing out exactly as I've shared that I thought that they would play out here on this channel. So hey, hit that subscribe so you don't miss those videos. As always, my friends, I wish you guys great success in your trading. Peace and blessings. Talk to you in the chat.